When I left off in the first video, I was talking about models of college essays. So here is a model of a college essay that the student used to apply to Cornell University, which is an Ivy League school. And the topic is called Why I Hate Cilantro. So already I'm engaged because that's a very unusual topic. So I asked the student, I found it on Reddit in 2016. I asked the student if I could use it. And the student said yes. And it has everything. It has a clear thesis. It has a line of reasoning. It has well-selected evidence. It has detailed commentary and reflection. And it has a comprehensive conclusion. I would love to meet this student. I'd love to take him out for a brownie and a cup of coffee because he seemed so interesting. So this is the essay. It's called Why I Hate Cilantro. And I put it in my PowerPoint slide so that you can read it. So this is the first part. I'm not going to read it to you. You can read it yourself, but you'll see why it's such an engaging essay. And then here's the second part, here's the third part, and here's the fourth part. And it's 609 words. So it's right in that sweet spot of between 600 to 650. It's a little on the short end, but it's got everything, believe me. Okay, so here's why I love this essay. I made a chart. So for starters, it tells a narrative that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So he wanted to find out why he hated cilantro. He did some research on cilantro. He learned the history of cilantro and did experiments. And in doing these experiments, he even found out the perfect recipe for cookies. He took classes, he kept learning, he was able to articulate this learning, and the learning took place outside of school. And then the journey led to the student applying to Cornell specifically for a degree in food science. So it's a complete, satisfying journey that has a great ending. Now, there's something that you guys need to know. You're not just telling a story, you're actually doing three things at once. So in addition to telling this engaging story that's different from everybody else's, you're doing something called the humble brag. And the humble brag is the ability for you to show your reader those soft skills that you don't put on the resume, but will come out in the narrative of your story. So these are the soft skills that I learned about this student. He is curious, he's resourceful, he's enthusiastic, he's smart, and he's diligent. Now, he could have listed those on a resume, diligent, but I would have had no evidence. But this essay gives me evidence of his diligence. And then finally, the third part of this essay that you're going to be imparting to your reader is that you know how to write. So this essay has a style and a voice. So he starts with these surprising questions. Do you hate cilantro? It got me interested right away. He has great vocabulary. He knows how to use words, lots of descriptive diction, lots of imagery. I could picture this student undergoing this experience. He has excellent syntax. He uses dashes and semicolons and parentheses and sentence variety, short sentences, long sentences. You can definitely tell it's polished and edited. It's clever and it's funny. He's got wordplay. He's got similes. He ended strong. It's memorable. I read this essay in 2016 and I can remember it 4 years ago. And like I said, I'd want to hang out with this person. Just from his essay, it shows me his personality. So your essay, you could make a column like this and you could say, how is my essay going to play out? Here's my beginning, here's my middle, here's my end. What do I want to do for the humble brag? What kind of things do I want to show my reader about me that they wouldn't get from my resume, from my letters of recommendation, and from my application? And finally, how can I impart my unique style and voice? Okay, so here are some questions that this essay is supposed to answer. So this essay is supposed to show your personality, but why you would be a good candidate for that college. So let's say you want to go to UGA or Mercer or Emory or Kennesaw State University. Can you learn independently? What happens if you are online with a person who lives in Valdosta? Can you get along with that person? What happens if that person is 56 years old? Can you be their lab partner? Do you want to learn more than just what's assigned to you in the classroom? So all of these kinds of learning and characteristics of learning and intellectualism need to come out in the essay. All right, what not to do. Do not use slang, non-standard words, or curse words. Not even damn. Don't be sexist, racist, or prejudiced. Don't complain. Don't be negative. Watch your tone. Don't offer too many details about the event and not enough details about your reflection of who you are. It's again, it's less about the car accident and more about how you recovered. Don't submit an essay that you've not thoroughly proofread and edited. Use Grammarly, use your Microsoft Office spell check, have somebody look at it. Mistakes and errors show what kind of learner you are, that you're not careful. And check your privilege. Something that you might think is funny, other people might find offensive. And that could be the thing that determines whether you get invited to the college or not. So you don't know who's on the other side of the essay reading it. So you need to make sure that you're not offending anybody. Okay, so your process should be this. As I mentioned in the first video, narrow down your essays to the ones that you don't want to write and the ones that you want to write. And you might even need to write a couple. For each idea, brainstorm a couple of elements. So before you write, don't just start writing, like pick a couple topics and then do a little brainstorm and see which one comes the most naturally, which one feels the best for you. So pick one and start writing it. And if you don't, if you're a couple paragraphs in and you're like, I don't know where this is going, well, then write your other prompt. I actually had a student who wrote all 6 one year, and she ended up getting a full ride scholarship to Carnegie Mellon University. So you never know. You might need to write more than one and then look at both pieces of writing and determine which is the best fit, which is the one that shows you in the best light. And if you have writer's block, write the body paragraphs first. You can write about the event or the reflection and then go back and then write the introduction and then the conclusion. Nobody says you have to write these in a chronological line. Okay, so here's how I would do it if I were you. I would do what's called a timed write. So once I figured out my prompt and I did a little bit of a brainstorm, I would set a clock for 40 minutes and I would start writing. Don't edit. Don't spell check. Just, as I like to say, vomit on the page. Get your ideas out there, even if it's a hot mess, and see if in your first go round you can get that beginning, middle, and end. If you have to start over, just don't delete, just skip down a little bit and then start writing the second one. If you're handwriting, just get another sheet of paper and then go. Okay, once that bell rings at 40 minutes, then take a look at it. Okay, if you have an opportunity, if there's someone in your house or a friend that you can read your essay aloud, you could do a Zoom if you wanted to, read it aloud. And if you're at a point where you have to stop and explain something, that's an area that you either need to flesh out the idea or you'll need to edit a little bit. Because remember, the person on the other side doesn't know you. You are a number. And so anything that you have to add additional information to when you're reading, they're not going to have that context. So this is a great way, if you read aloud your essay, that you can figure out who your audience is and write enough information so that they understand what you're trying to say. And if you're the listener, if you're listening to somebody, listen very carefully and don't interrupt. Just let the person read the whole essay from beginning, middle to the end, and then only comment at the end, because you want them to be able to have to articulate something first, and you don't want them to lose their train of thought. Okay, so listener, here's the way you want to give feedback. So for starters, writing is hard, and the writer has made themselves vulnerable. So offer them a compliment at first. Good job, I enjoyed your story. I remember when that happened. Wow, that's really impressive. Once you've offered a compliment, then you can offer a concern. And the concern could be, that second paragraph, why don't you flesh that out or develop it a little bit more? And then finally, one recommendation. Leave your friend with some advice. So here's some questions that you can ask the friend or your daughter or your son. Did you hear that humble brag? Was the writing highlighting the writer in a way that's very positive? Did you hear the original voice or that sense of style? Okay, so that is the way we're going to do this, and we're going to spend 2 weeks on this. and this will be the last big assignment we do for the year. All right, so I'm looking forward to reading some of your college essays, and let's see how you do. Now, the last thing I want to do is I want to show you the difference between the UGA and the Common App one. So this PowerPoint had the Common App ones. So those of you who are applying to places like Georgia State, Mercer, Emory, those are all Common Apps. But some of you have expressed that you're going to apply to UGA. So the UGA one, let me show you those really quickly. Okay, so here I am on admissions.uga.edu/blog/2020-freshman-essay-topics. And if you notice, this was updated May 30th, 2019. So it will be updated in May of this year, but trust me, they don't change year to year. This is like the same exact prompts, like 4 years running, 5 years running, as long as I've been doing this. Okay. So they always give you a little bit of background and tell you when the admissions applications will be open. And by the way, UGA is not on Common App, so you'll have to go to their website and you'll have to apply separately. Okay, so everybody has to do essay number 1. The college admissions process can create anxiety. In an attempt to make it less stressful, please tell us an interesting or amusing story about yourself from your high school years that you've not already shared in your application. One of my favorite ones was a girl was talking about problem solving, being at her aunt's house, waking up, and there was a huge roach that was crawling up the wall. And she wanted to throw a shoe at it like she normally did, but she didn't want to wake up anybody in her aunt's family. So she was like envisioning all these scenarios of catching the roach, and it was hilarious. So it doesn't have to be something traditional. And look at the word count on this. Okay, these are super short. All right, these are like 200 words each. Okay, right here, 200 to 300 words. So that's not a lot, right? You have to tell a complete story. Okay, so that's the required essay. Now the second one, you have to choose one more. And again, 200 to 300 words. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 choices, okay? And what I like about this is it even provides you with some models. So here's a couple of models that were amusing, that were successful, okay? And I hope that helps you out a lot, all right? So that is the UGA prompts there. Okay, and I'm going to now log off. And if you have any questions, just let me know.